Hi, I'm Cody Anderson, one of the pastors at Parker United Methodist Church. On Sunday, we ended our sermon series called Celebrate, thinking about the gifts that God has given to us. And on Sunday, we talked about celebrating new life, the ways that hope springs up within us, and how we see new life come from ashes. As we enter into the fall season, I have to admit that celebrating new life feels a little bit weird because we're about to enter a season where things appear to be dying, right? Trees will let go of the leaves and we'll have to rake them and bag them up or turn them into mulch to get them out of the way. Plants that we think are beautiful flowers right now will end up being nothing in the winter. And I have to say that the winter is one of the hardest seasons for me because not being able to see new life, being in this moment where things feel dormant, where things feel dead, where it doesn't feel like there's any hope, are so hard for me. Have you ever had a season like that? A season where you wondered if there would ever be new life. A season where everything around you just appeared to be dying or dead, and you just wondered where there was hope, where there was somebody to share with you some good news of celebration, if you would ever be able to celebrate new life again. In those moments, I've talked about this before, but it's so important to think about those who are around us, who are holding us up, who are reminding us that there is hope and everything might feel like it's lost now, but there will be beauty that comes from the ashes. I've had several conversations this week about that, thinking about the ways that people have held us up when life was super hard, when all felt to be lost or hopeless. I've been reading this book called In My Grandmother's House, Black Women, Faith, and the Stories We Inherit. It's by Yolanda Pierce, and it's a beautiful reflection and story of those who have gone before us, those who have paved the way for where we are today, and who have given us this wisdom, this gift that has shared with us not only how new life has sprung up for them in the places that they have experienced deep loss, but also how their prayers have upheld us during those times. So I wanted to read to you a little bit of this book today. She writes, "There is a haunting photo of Donella Bryant taken during the Civil Rights Movement. An African-American 17-year-old and Parker High School senior, Donella was among the many children and teens who were active in the movement in Alabama. During a demonstration outside the Traffic Engineering Building in Birmingham on May 5th, 1963, a news photographer captured her praying. In the photograph, she's kneeling on the concrete and grass, her hands clasped as tears stream down her face. Although they are outside the frame of this particular picture, other photos from that day show the water hoses and police dogs and armed law enforcement officials waiting to break up the demonstration, an unarmed group of children. The picture evokes powerful emotions. Perhaps it's her youthfulness, or the gloves in her hands, or the look of pain in her eyes. And while kneel-ins and prayer vigils were a regular feature of the civil rights movement, this image of a singular young Black teenager's body in prayer is particularly striking. The viewer is prompted to wonder what she is praying for at this particular moment. Is it a prayer for her safety and that of others? Is it a plea to end the violence being brutally inflicted upon nonviolent Black bodies? Is it a petition to simply make it home safely to her parents? And does God ultimately hear and answer her prayer? This evocative image illustrates all the ways that prayer in the African American context is both deeply personal and highly communal. Danella Bryant is kneeling and crying. It is a scene of her own personal anguish. But just outside the frame of her own moment of prayer is an entire community of other Black teens and children, some also praying, some protesting, some shielding others from violence. Her prayer is not a moment of inaction. It is an active calling on the divine presence in the middle of a literal battle. Encountering this photo as an adult reinforced the theology of prayer I learned as a child while kneeling at the foot of my grandmother's bed. Prayer is a contradiction. One may feel profoundly alone in the moment of prayer, but when you enter before the throne of grace, the divine is present. And while the kneeling position, body bent, hands folded, may seem like a posture of submission, prayer itself can be a battle. The prayer warrior proclaims, along with Jacob in Genesis, who wrestles with God until daybreak, "I will not let you go until you bless me." The prayer warrior can tarry for hours on behalf of herself or others. Prayer is that contradictory space where a powerless and defenseless mortal being dares to communicate with a powerful and omnipotent God. And prayer is where the imperfection of the human condition meets God's perfecting greatness. God is the great physician, the great lawmaker, and God's unsurpassed greatness stands above limited human capacity. Prayer is a petition. It's a cry for help, a supplication, a plea for assistance. Prayer is the acknowledgement of weakness, that in our own strength and power, we are insufficient for the burdens that we face. And yet there is a God capable of the miraculous. There is a God who answers prayers, sometimes with a yes, sometimes with a no. The supplicant can ask anything her heart desires. There is no petition too big or too small. And yet the act of prayer never absolves the petitioner from doing her part. You pray with your feet. At some point, you must leave your prayer closet with a plan of action and resolve to make a change. Prayer is intercession. It is the act of standing in the cosmic gap for others. There are those who cannot pray for themselves, those who are too weak and too sick, those who are too young or too old, and those who cannot or choose not to pray. Prayer is a reminder that somewhere, somebody is calling your name before God. Prayer is also a celebration. It is gratitude for what God has done, large and small, known and unknown. You pray to celebrate being protected from unseen dangers or things that have been provided. You pray to celebrate those glimpses of God's goodness while you are yet in the land of the living. Perhaps what I learned most clearly as a young child kneeling in prayer with my grandmother is that for the believer, prayer is a primary form of speech. I was the subject of many of my grandmother's prayers. The sacrifices of motherhood, yet again folded into grandmotherhood, were often more than she felt she could bear. But she felt in her duty to petition Jesus on my behalf. She prayed for me until I learned to pray for myself, and then she prayed for me some more. I am certain, without a shadow of doubt, that my survival is a result of my grandmother's prayers. She prayed for me with an intensity, fervor, and sense of obligation that no one has ever matched. She prayed at degrees of graduations and career accomplishments into existence, answers to prayers she would not live to see. As we knelt at the foot of my childhood bed, my grandmother introduced me to Jesus. She did not introduce me to religion. She gave me Jesus. Such a powerful reflection of the way that people's prayers hold us when we don't even recognize it or realize it. The way that people's intercession for us and our lives and the hardest things that we are going through are what carry us into that next space, that place where hope is found. And it might take years and years for us to understand it, to be able to experience it. So my friends, when we're going through those really hard, dark times where it feels like new life is nowhere to be found, hold on to this promise that there are others who are praying for you even as we speak. Those who are holding up your name to God who is powerful, God who performs miracles. They are wrestling with God on your behalf to not let go until you are blessed, until you experience a moment of hope, until you experience new life. Sometimes it's hard to celebrate new life, but maybe we can celebrate the gift of those who pray for us, who intercede for us, who speak our name to God and the things that are the hardest for us to speak for ourselves. Maybe they have been grandmothers for you. Maybe they have been close friends or mentors or even acquaintances. But maybe your name has been spoken in a way in which God has heard, and God has provided you a space for hope, a space for new life that you never thought possible. Let us be the prayers for those who are unable to pray during this hard season of their lives. And let us hold on to that hope, that promise, that others are lifting up prayers for us when it is too hard for us to believe that new life will come. Prayer is one of the most powerful things that we can do for one another. So let us hold on to that hope that God hears all of our prayers. And may you experience the hope and new life that is found in Jesus, the one who hopefully you have been introduced to. Jesus, who has conquered death. Jesus, who is God with us in the midst of our pain. Jesus, who brings us new life.